Hello there, thanks for coming back. Now, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump and his policies, I think it's worthwhile pointing out that occasionally, not very often I admit, he does make a good point. Recently, the BBC's flagship documentary brand Panorama was caught with its journalistic pants down. In short, it misled his viewers by creatively editing and stitching two clips together to make it seem that the US president made an incendiary comment about inciting violence when he really didn't. The result is that the BBC's Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turnus both announced their resignation on Sunday, and Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for $1 billion. That's where it stands at the moment. Now, I wonder if he's personally going to get that $1 billion if it comes off, or that will go to his government. We'll see. Anyway, I'll show you the clips, but before I do, please like, then comment on any policing subjects you'd like me to cover, then subscribe to make sure you don't miss it if I've covered your subject. So here's the video that shows how Trump's speech was manipulated.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Now, historically, in a similar narrative manipulation, we've also seen Panorama providing so-called evidence of the Labour Party's institutional anti-Semitism under Jeremy Corbyn, which ensured he didn't get into power. Phew! Thank goodness for that. We got Keir Starmer instead. He was roundly supported by the media and shooed into Downing Street with the greatest of ease. Panorama also supported the drive to take Britain into the Iraq war by promoting the Iraq can hit us with WMDs in 45 seconds motif. They claimed that it came from weapons expert Dr. David Kelly, who accidentally committed suicide before he had a chance to say, "You've edited my words." But anyway, what has all this got to do with the Metropolitan Police? Well, you'll know that the BBC aired a Panorama programme that totally trashed the Met's efforts to improve on its faults, as highlighted by the Casey review. They did this by sending an undercover reporter into Charing Cross Police Station for 7 months to secretly film what goes on in a detention suite. And detention suite duties are widely accepted by police to be among the worst jobs to have to do. The documentary was a scathing review, starring a handful of 4 or 5 officers who were bigoted and altogether nasty pieces of work who have since been sacked. Now, I'm not making excuses for them or the malpractice that went on, but here's the thing. I'm a videographer and communications guy, and something occurred to me. If you were to film somewhere for, let's say 4 hours a day for 5 working days a week over a 7-month period, you would have around 560 hours of footage. I know that because I worked it out. And that's 560 hours of footage to make 1 hour documentary. Now, let me tell you, with 560 hours of footage, you could tell any story you wanted to simply by selecting the clips by any criteria you've chosen. If I wanted to make a video saying that all police officers do nothing but eat cake, I could select all cake eating clips in my 560 hours of footage. If I wanted to say that all police officers do nothing but tell bad jokes, I definitely wouldn't need 560 hours of footage to make a documentary about that. The thing is, if the Metropolitan Police is full of racist, misogynistic, homophobic people to the brim, as shown on the Panorama documentary, why did it take more than half a year to find enough evidence to back up that theme. Now, I understand that it takes a bit of time to get into trusted circles when people finish work and open up down the boozer, but I've been in pubs before, and people sometimes have a tendency to mouth off stupidly when they've had a few pints. They can also reveal their true selves that they wouldn't do during their 9 to 5 jobs. But film in one place for long enough and you'll get the footage that you're looking for. And is it fair to say that the whole organisation of 46,000 people is at fault because a police station with an already known bad reputation was found wanting? Why didn't the undercover journalist visit a few police stations across the city instead of just one that already had a record for bad behaviour? It's a bit like if you went to the worst motorway service station and had a McDonald's at 2 a.m. and found coffee-stained, unwiped tables, filled trash cans, tired, inefficient staff and overly expensive Big Macs, then said that every McDonald's across the country is all the same. When you make a documentary, you start off with a theme or hypothesis and you enlarge on what you think you're going to find. Remember, that's not reporting. Reporting is when you don't know what you're going to find and you have no influence on how you record the story. It's been shown time and again that a Panorama documentary, rather than being reporting or journalism, usually has a narrative to communicate. Then it finds footage or edited interviews to support its preconceived message. The real journalism or the real reporting would be finding out who is setting these narratives, and perhaps more importantly, why are they doing it, and what do they hope to gain by having us believe what we're seeing? Is there someone who believes the police should be policing in a way that suits them better rather than following the letter of the law? So they foster this anti-policing rhetoric, which, like a snowball, will build its own momentum as the public start chattering about police failings online. Well, that's just my thoughts, but let me know what you think in the chat below. Thanks for listening.